I came out the womb, I was ready. Tell her, mama, you know I was ready. That's why you have it.
See how there's nobody around me? This is how it is in the field of play also.
Jerry Wright! Oh, what a catch by Wright! Touchdown, 49ers!
Between you and Talib on the field early in the game.
I don't know. You gonna ask him because he done finished the game. Ice up, son. Ice up.
Dude right there said, hey, man, I was going to tell you, you're the best receiver in the game. I said, I know.
All I want to know if you got your popcorn ready. Do you got your popcorn ready?
Welcome to the Top of the Route podcast with your hosts Justin Grandinetti and Mike Vannucci.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Top of the Route podcast, episode 5. Hey, we've been rocking and rolling, Mike, man. This has been fun. Obviously, just, finally getting some guests on, episode 3, Coach Gerbino, excellent. I mean, y'all got to tune into that. Episode 4, Coach Dub, another must listen to. They're live. They're up on all platforms, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify. But I mean, getting those dudes up there, obviously we're able to learn a bunch, man. It's been fun, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's great to have guests on and hear different perspectives on the position. It's great for the listeners. It's great for us as coaches to learn. That's probably, in my opinion, other than seeing guys move, is listening to other guys coaching a position, their delivery and how they coach and any philosophies, and be able to pick up little nuggets. You can learn from anybody. So having those two on to start was really special.
Yeah. And it's just fun. Like, it's just fun to have those type of conversations when this is what you enjoy doing, right? Like, we love wideout play. So to be able to talk to other like-minded individuals, get their perspective on things, hear their backgrounds, how they've been doing stuff, like, just super cool. Obviously, I mean, I believe I could speak for you, but just for myself, like, learning a ton just in those last 2 episodes has been awesome.
100%. It's one of the best ways to learn, as we just mentioned, and excited to keep it rolling. Both. I mean, we stayed on with Coach Gerbino for like 45 minutes after,
afterwards.
Could have went till the 4th of July, right? So
I was telling my buddy that
when you get like-minded people who love the craft and the position the way we all have and all do, this is the best, man. This is the best form of professional development that I've ever been a part of.
So yeah, and we were just right before we clicked on, man. Mike and I were talking, and it's like, we're catching ourselves, not for us, but it's like we're listening to these episodes kind of over and over because of the guests that were on and what they were talking about, like just soaking it all in as best as possible. Because again, like, people have been dropping some knowledge, and we're going to keep this thing rolling. Today we have another guest on, getting into episode 5. We're going to let our guest in right now. Hey, Cal.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Coach?
What's happening, brother?
You hear me okay?
Come on, man.
Good. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All
How are you?
awesome. Good. How are you guys doing?
Hey, just living the dream, man. We were just talking, having a lot of fun with this podcast, getting some great coaches on like yourself, just ready to talk some ball.
Yeah, I listened to the one with Joe. That was really good.
Yeah. We just dropped episode 4 before with Coach Dub, another must listen, man. You've seen his stuff and you heard him, just tons of gems in there, man. And, we're expecting to continue this on with you, man. So we really appreciate you taking the time to jump on with us, man.
Yeah, they've definitely set a high bar. I can live up.
Nothing you can't handle, man. Nothing you can't handle. I seen you doing, some clinic talks here recently. You just were on, which one were you just on? Not the Lawrence fourth and goal, was it? Or was it
yeah, I did Lawrence first and goal.
Okay. Yeah.
So that might have been it.
Yeah. How's that?
Oh, it's good. Yeah, that's always a good cause. Like, I remember being a camper there, and now it's kind of morphed into this clinic. So, Coach Lou's great cause. So I was happy to get to be able to do that.
Yeah. I saw a quick clip of it. Now, did you focus on just one topic? I know you were talking about, I think you guys were doing 180s in that clip.
Yeah, it was just a lot of like breakpoint talk. 180. We run a lot of 180s, so it was like 180s, 45s, 90s, and then some speed cut stuff. Yeah, a lot of the clips of the game were like some 180 stuff.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get into some breakpoint stuff today for sure.
Definitely.
Between Mike and I, we definitely, that's something we love chatting about for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's just kind of get into let's backtrack a little bit. We always like to get just a little bit of background information. We keep it super, wide out focused, but just kind of your journey getting to where you're at now. Obviously, you played DB in college, so like, what kind of made you come over to the dark side, so to speak?
Yeah, so I was pretty much always playing like high school, and then obviously college. I played DB. So I went to Amherst College in Massachusetts, in the NESCAC, played 4 years of DB there, and then realized my senior year that I wanted to get into coaching. And they had an opportunity there, and it was really like, an offensive GA type spot and then a defensive GA type spot. And I don't know how it kind of happened, but I ended up in the offensive spot. And I think it was really good because all those same coaches were there on defense, and I felt like probably maybe I wanted to experience something different. And so I was the running backs coach there, and then I was the like kind of the offensive GA, like doing all that type of breakdown input stuff. And then from there, that was 2014, 2015. And then from there, I got an opportunity to go to Columbia University as an offensive quality control coach. And it was kind of the same thing as Mark Fabish, who was the offensive coordinator
Incredible.
there.
Yeah,
And he was the
incredible
head
offensive
coach.
mind.
Yeah. And then now he's the head coach at the Petty School here in New Jersey. He was the longtime assistant and offensive coordinator at Monmouth, obviously for my father. So he was the one who kind of brought me there in that role to work for him. And so when I was there for 3 seasons as the offensive quality control coach, again, doing all that input and breakdown stuff. And I had the ability to work with, the quarterbacks one year, the running backs the next year, the receivers the following year. And then I just kind of fell into being an offensive assistant coach. And then from there, went to Lafayette College in PA for a year as the running backs coach. And then after that 2018 season, Monmouth had an opportunity on offense. It was the receivers coach. So knew some people there, obviously, and
Just a
would be
couple.
able to get that one too. So yeah, it was probably something that I kind of early on just fell into coaching on offense. And then obviously it's something that I stayed doing as well.
Yeah. Do you feel like, obviously playing DB has kind of helped you, in this receiver realm now, like just being able to attack on a just because you understand the position, since playing it and whatnot?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think so when I went to Amherst, obviously played DB, Coach Mills, who's the head coach there, he's also or when at least when I was there, he was the defensive backs coach. So like I was meeting, we were meeting as much as anybody. And he's a phenomenal person, a phenomenal coach, and like just a phenomenal leader. And so I learned a ton from him playing. And there's catchphrases and buzzwords that I still use, when talking about defensive assignments that we were doing at Amherst. And so like that definitely gave me like a base understanding of what defenses are trying to accomplish, what coverage rules are, what assignment keys responsibilities are that I've carried over a lot to today. And it's something that we talk about at Monmouth a lot is like we don't need a total understanding of coverages and defensive structures and rules, but allowing them to just have a base understanding is something that I think I can give the guys just haven't played it, which I think has been really helpful when you're starting to talk about route ideas and why this concept's good and maybe why this one isn't. So being there, like with Coach Mills and that defensive staff and that whole program, it really gave me like a foundational understanding of what we're trying to accomplish and something that I'm still using today for sure.
No,
It's awesome.
yeah, that is great. I think that's important, especially, for the high school coaches, I think that are listening. I mean, obviously, we don't have as much time as y'all. So, to go super in depth with coverages is not always feasible, right? Like we just don't have the time to do it. And maybe it's not even imperative, but if you can kind of just give them a breakdown, kind of just at least an understanding of, what they're looking to accomplish, like you were saying, it could be a world of difference.
Yeah, and like we always say, like it's a lot more important that we understand what we're doing than what the defense is doing, And so, and I think it's very leveled too, right? It's like, all right, if you're young guys, you're not really even talking coverage concepts with them. But then eventually, like hopefully if you get to your coaching, guys who are thinking football and want to learn football, especially your juniors and seniors when they feel like they have the assignment stuff down, then all right, you're starting to go a little bit further with the coverage concepts and
Yeah.
structures. And that's something that we've done the last couple of years that's been pretty good for us and fun too and enjoyable and a little bit different than just constantly talking install.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really a way to maximize production for guys. And you even think about something as simple, which I don't think coverage ID gets brought up enough in this regard, is like yak plan, right? Like
Mhm.
if we're working versus any type of zone, where are the nearest tacklers, right? And I think Cup's like record-breaking year, his film that year was incredible to watch because it almost felt like he knew exactly where everybody was going to be to maximize his yak. Because Cup, like, he's not Dante Hall. He's not, we were talking about Zay Flowers last episode. He's not that type of guy, but he still is able to be super efficient with the ball in his hands because of his understanding of when I'm going to need to drop step vertically, when I'm going to need to position my body before the ball arrives. And I think that's one part of like identifying coverages for kids that plays a huge role that I don't know if is coached enough. Are you guys speaking about those things in your room? Is that coming more natural? Like, how do you guys attack that at all?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like it goes to understanding full concepts and why am I getting the ball, right? So like if you're running some type of drive concept or under concept, all right, why am I getting the ball? It's because, all right, hey, maybe this overhang has expanded. Maybe this mic has latched on to this, OTB route. And I need to knife this ball in this area because this is going to maximize, to your point, Mike, like the yak between whoever that alley player is and inside linebacker. So I think like that's how we talk about it a lot is like, hey, you need to get vertical or drop step or whatever you're using it and really understanding why you're getting the ball is because these defenders have attached to these routes or field zones. So this is where all the grass is, where if you're continuing to just carry the ball laterally, you're going to run into this defender. So I think like, yeah, there are certain concepts where we're talking about that stuff, whether it's option route type stuff or clear out stuff or drives or meshes that like it definitely shows up for us. And like, and I think too, like that's the progression is like, all right, hey, day one is like, you have this route, 400 level, 300 level is like, all right, to maximize it, this is where the ball's got to go.
Like you said, I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Like level 100 is like, you need to get here in this amount of time, right?
Yeah.
Level 400 is like, all right, when the ball is arriving, we're doing something with it. 100%. That's really well put.
Yeah, like you were saying before, I mean, it's important to know what we're doing, right? We need to know what we're doing. So because of that, for you guys, I mean, how important is it for obviously the guys to understand the full concept so then they may be able to seamlessly transition to different positions throughout, your wideout positions? Like, are you having guys like, hey, this guy's typically an outside guy, but if he can transition to the slot, like just that seamless transition based on their knowledge of the concepts?
Yeah, I think it's really like both. And that's probably a cop out answer sitting on the fence of that one. But to me, it's a lot about like what guys can handle, and are there certain guys who you need to put blinders on and they're the racehorse and keep it really simple because once you start moving them around or putting too much on their plate, the whole game just slows down versus these guys can handle a lot mentally. So we can really move them around. And I think like in an ideal world, like everybody is learning everything all at once, but especially coming in as a freshman and sometimes that becomes a lot for guys really quickly. So to me, like I'm trying to cater it to where we're just trying to maximize their skill set. And if this is someone who the assignment needs to be really simple, well, let's just keep it simple. If this is someone who can handle a lot on their plate, then let's put a lot on their plate. And that to me is kind of the best way to do it. And our room sometimes evolves where, and I'm sure everyone is like, hey, you've got bigger body outside guys, and then you've got smaller slot guys. So that's where people play. Or is it, hey, I've got guys who are all whatever size and whatever speed, and the parts are very interchangeable. So I think as a coach, it's just like being adaptable and thinking about what you have in the room and then trying to maximize the skill set that way, like mentally and physically.
That's the art of coaching, right? Is identifying when and who can handle that workload. Because you give a guy too much too fast, and now he can't be himself anymore.
Right.
I spent some time with Art Browse. There were some guys that like they had to play on our sideline. Like they couldn't go anywhere else because mentally they needed to be closer to the call. They might need some help with the call, and so the answer to that was they were great players and they could really run and they were good, but once they got out of where they felt comfortable, they couldn't play as fast. So very similar to that. That was kind of my first exposure to it because for me, I wanted to play everywhere. I did everything I could to play everywhere, but some guys are unable to do that, and we don't want to slow them down. So that's a great point.
How fast do you identify?
Like, that's okay too, right? It's like there's nothing wrong with that, and I think that's an important thing that like I learned is like just because they whatever don't learn it all, like that's okay. You can still maximize their strengths
Absolutely.
to build a really good player.
How fast do you identify that, or how fast ideally would you like to identify how much this dude can handle?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if there's a right answer to it. It's like, number one is we do a lot of work, and I'm a big believer in kind of like this personality test company that we have that identifies it pretty early. And it makes sense to me, number one, in terms of just processing and when are they at their best, whether it's they can handle a lot or like, hey, just put blinders on them and let them go. So for me, that's number one. And then two, I think like especially early in their career, as you're going through the installs and the practices and just the process of it is like, all right, when is he at his best and what can he really handle? And trying to put them in positions to be successful.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um,
How long have you guys been doing that personality test stuff?
I mean that like our our athletic department pays a company and I'm probably the one who gets the dollar on that one, right? It's like I'm all in on it.
Yeah.
And it's really helped me like communicate with guys, set them up to be successful, tailor different things to them. We've probably been using it at least since COVID, maybe like since I've been here, 2019. We definitely used it in 2020 and kind of going forward. So like I'm a big proponent of it for sure. Use it in recruiting, right? Like all that type of stuff.
That's dope. I'm glad you actually said that because one of the things we wanted to ask you was, when you are recruiting wideouts, like what are some of the main characteristics you're looking for? What pops off the tape to you, and then obviously when you start to, let's say, initiate that conversation with that recruit, what truly stands out personality wise.
Yeah, so like I guess like physically, when we're talking athletic traits, A1A at Monmouth is like we want guys who can run. Like we're not really interested in the guys who are the big body guys, right? Like to us, like we want guys who can stretch the field vertically, who can create explosive plays with the ball in their hand. So like for us, possession receiver is like the death sentence. Like we would much rather play with guys who are 5'10" to 6 foot who can really roll versus your 6'4", jump ball guy. And if that in recruiting is a high school running back, if it's a high school quarterback, if it's a high school receiver, for us, it really doesn't matter. We think that if you can run and you have some level of baseline foundational catching ability, then we can really teach and develop everything else. And like you look at our room over the past couple of years is there's guys who never played receiver in high school. There's a lot of like wildcat scrambling athletic quarterbacks because they're the best player on their team. There's running backs in there. And then obviously there's receivers. And so like if you can run and you can catch, like I know it sounds simple, but we can for the most part figure everything else out. But we're really looking at like explosive plays with the ball in your hand, some level of production, and then obviously guys who can really go, and then like on the mental side of things, this is really important for us. And let me back up. It's like, cause I'll say like for us as an FCS school, that 6'2" kid, or maybe even that 6'1" kid who can really run, that's an FBS player, And so for us is like, all right, we're okay being a little bit smaller, but being a little bit faster than everybody else. And we've had a lot of success with that model. So that's something that we're really targeted in terms of how we're evaluating guys. And then like mentally, it's just I want workers, and like that's something through kind of this personality test discovery is like because that's who I am. So if like we're identifying a guy and he's really lacking like in that fuel and motor department, it's just not going to mesh with who I am as a coach. And so we're really identifying workers and guys who love the game of football, who are internally motivated, who are really competitive, who love the game, who love like just actually going out to practice and playing football. And those are the guys we've had the most success with, so we're very willing to pass on someone who might be a little bit more talented if we can get that guy who's an absolute, like just flat out worker.
You want workhorses, not show horses, right? Like
Exactly.
you want plow horses, not show
Oh, yeah.
horses. And it aligns with how you recruit, like how everything you described, like, and it makes sense. Like we'll get into the success the room has had shortly.
Yeah.
But it aligns because you're talking about how you're going to take guys who can go and who have some type of catching ability and we'll develop them. Well, it aligns because you're getting the guys who are willing to put the time in mentally, physically to be developed, right? So that it's no surprise with the success you guys have had
100%.
in the wideout room based on that model. It's really an interesting way you put it, but it aligns perfectly. Like Jameer Miller, Spate, Derry, Gavin Nelson, like outrageous production. And it goes back to even AK. I remember when I was there a few years ago, he was pretty productive himself. He was a really good player. So this has like been years and years of not just like some production. We're talking the best in the country consistently year after year after year. How do you manage that many quality players? Like, it's got to be a selfless room. And I've been in your meeting rooms. I've been fortunate to be in your meeting rooms. It's awesome. Like the culture that's in there. Guys are super like they're paying super close attention to everything they're saying. It translates out to the practice field. How are you handling that many quality players at one time in regards to touches and making sure they stay selfless and things of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, it's, as you guys know, it's definitely tough or an anomaly in a wide receiver room, you know, because you've got a bunch of alphas, right? And like, as much as we want to say like, hey, put the team first, like there is some type of, you know, individual
No doubt. You have to have it.
motivation
You have
to get numbers and get production, and that's
It
the
has to be.
reality of it,
Ha
you
you have
know,
to,
right? So number one is definitely like, especially now, like in this era of transfer portal, it's like if we're going to take someone in the transfer portal, it has to be identifying the right guy. Like if, hey man, we ask you why you went in and it was, well, I'm trying to increase production, or what's your quarterback situation, like, all right, we're out. You know what I mean? Because we know that it's just not going to vibe with what we have going on here. And then two, it's just this mentality of like, we all eat together, you know, and at any time, we're going to put a bunch of really talented guys out there. The ball's going to go where the defense dictates that it goes, right? So if like, hey, they're rolling to the field and maybe there's some type of double on the slot, the ball's going to go to the boundary. And the boundary guys know that, right? If they're going to go over and tilt the coverage to the boundary, well, the ball's going to go to the field. And whoever touches the football can score. And so I think they know that there's going to be an opportunity, regardless of where they're at, to create explosive plays. Secondly, is like they know they have to be at their best all the time, or someone else is going to play and take their spot. You know, so there is like, at the same time, like there's that peer pressure to perform, paired with a really high degree, I think, of humility. Like I think our guys, like ever since I've been here, they've done a phenomenal job of like, old guys teach young guys, you know, and young guys listen, and they help them fill in the gaps probably of where I'm missing things. And then when those young guys become older, they continue that tradition. And then I think too, like you have to know that the guys are going to want statistics, right? So like, hey, even if we've got 4 guys and they're playing and we have a big win and one of those guys doesn't have a catch, right? Like he's going to be somewhat salty on Sunday or on Monday. And like as a coach, you have to be okay with that, right? And it's like that's just the nature of it and how it's going to happen. But by Tuesday, Wednesday, I've got to be able to get him back refocused and saying like, all right, like, hey, this week, like you've got to have your opportunities. So like I think like our guys at Monmouth, they work really hard. They're really competitive, but sometimes they take a long time to come back from failure. And that's okay, right? It's like you just have to give them space and time to get back to it. And then once they get back to it, it's like, all right, well now, hey, it's my opportunity. And so I think like that's probably a place that I've grown over the last couple of years is like, if they experience failure, give them space and give them time, because they are going to come back and they're going to be fine. You know, just knowing that like we're trying to build this culture of selflessness and humility, and we're all going to eat together, and then pair that with the competitive internal drive to go get what I think is mine. I think you have to exist in both worlds.
You have to. I mean, imagine, you know, having, let's say, a one of your better guys, and it's like he doesn't want the ball in a big moment. You'd be like dumbfounded by it. So, like, yeah, that selflessness obviously plays a major role, and you want that. But like you're saying, you also want that dude, right, to have that confidence in himself, have just that desire to be the man in those situations. Like that's the type of confidence, or like, you know, Mike always posts about and talks about it, that competitive arrogance that you need. Like you need that balance.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned that I loved, and that's a great point, Justin. Like there's going to be ego. Like there's got to be ego. Like if you think you're the best player on the field and you walk away with no catches, like you're gonna feel a type of way.
Sure.
Like period, end of story. Like it's innate, and you kind of need that in your alphas, right? It's kind of how it's got to be. One thing you brought up that I thought was great, and I think is an important thing to note for any coach who's out there with like a new room, or they're taking over a new job. The standard has to be set early, and it has to be maintained by any means necessary. So what I mean by that is, and what you had mentioned was the older guys kind of set it, and now the younger guys have no choice but to follow it. And then that just kind of recycles, right? So it weeds out anybody who doesn't match the standard, because they're going to feel uncomfortable and they're not going to want to be there. So everything you're describing, like we kind of have known because we had spoken and you and Justin speak, but it's no surprise the success that you guys have had. Just the short conversations we're having, for anybody that doesn't know Coach Callahan or what Monmouth has been able to do in their wideout room, like everything you're describing is like, it's traits of an elite wideout room.
And it translates.
Yeah, and it's obviously been translating. Like setting that standard early, it's unacceptable for anybody else to meet it. So now that these older guys have been through the room and they've experienced it, it's the only way they know. So anybody that's coming up behind them, they're experiencing it, and then it snowballs all the way down.
Yeah, and I think too, we've been really fortunate. Like ever since I got here, like when I got here in 2019, we had a lot of talent in the room. So like I was already walking into a really good room, with that was somewhat experienced, and so it's helped. Like we've been able to continue that trend set ever since before I got here. And it's almost developed this culture of like, at times, young guys know that they have to wait their turn, right? Because now, hey, when I'm a junior, senior, it's like, hey, man, like when I was a freshman and sophomore, like I had to wait. You know what I mean? And so, especially now, I think that that's something that's really helped, where guys aren't running out of the door, if they don't have opportunities early in their career. And I think that that's something that's helped us too, like maintain that culture, to your point, Mike, over the course of my time here.
Yeah. And it certainly doesn't hurt when, you've had some really great offensive minds that know how to get, valuable skill players the ball. I mean, obviously Coach Gallo, now the head coach, but, as the offensive coordinator for a while, Coach Robinson, right, is the new OC, and he was at Fairleigh Dickinson.
He's great.
I want to say I had him on during COVID when he was the head coach at Fairleigh. And again, another dude that is just extremely intelligent and knows. I mean, they're gonna spread that ball around and they're gonna stretch that field. I mean, it's been evident.
Yeah, like people ask like what the secret sauce is to like our offensive production, and it's the alignment and stability of our offensive staff. Like Coach Gallo has been here since 2005 or 4 or 5 was his first year. At the same time, like Brian Gabriel, our offensive line coach, has been here since 2004, 2005. Sam Dorsett's our running backs coach. And I know we're talking receiver stuff, but I think like 3 or 4 of the last 5 years, we've had the number 1 running back in the country.
Yep.
So like that's kind of been the secret, is we're so aligned. Coach Dorsett, I think, has been here for 12, 13 years now. And this iteration, we've been together for 5, 6 years. So we have a lot of answers. We're completely aligned in terms of how we're talking to the guys. We're just as explosive and efficient running the ball as we are throwing it, So like that ability to be balanced, to be 50-50, to be aligned as a staff, to be on the same page, to be just as explosive throwing it as we are running it. Like that's why we've been able to be so successful.
Yeah. And you guys have had, Mike touched on it before, having some, monster numbers, like 2024, where y'all second in the country in passing offense. Like that's incredible. You know what I mean? And I'm sure your room was absolutely loving it, because 332 yards plus a game that's insane.
Yeah, we had a really good quarterback, right? Like, Derek Robertson, he's gonna definitely have a chance to play in the NFL. So that always helps the receiver room for sure.
No doubt. Justin, I feel similarly about you. We think you're probably one of the best wideout developers in the country. Going to see you in Indy during spring ball was really awesome for me as a coach trying to learn, because you do such a great job delivering concise messages. And I think this is where the collegiate coaches and the private coaches separate. And I think your job is harder, because you have such a short period of time and you need to get things done. You've got to find ways to get things done in a short period of time. It was awesome to see you see guys improve in such a short indie period. How do you structure your indies? Are you doing certain themes per day? Is it driven by the scheme for the week, the game plan for the week, spring ball? How does it vary from spring ball to fall? Just talk about how you structure your indie a little bit.
Yeah, so number one is like since I've been here, I've always been fortunate to have some type of like quality control guy with me. And so if we have a group of 14 guys or whatever it is, trying to split the group as much as possible. Like I always hate like when there's a receiver group going and there's one guy going and there's 12 guys watching, right? So if we can split the group and I can get two groups of 6, 7, and 8, like that's exactly what we want. If not, like if we're doing something together, it's all right, can we get multiple guys going at the same time? Can we get 3 guys going at the same time to really be really efficient in how we're using our time is number one. And then, so I'm trying to do that as much as possible. And then number 2 is I'm a big believer in trying to get the work that we're not going to get the rest of the practice. So like for me, a lot of times you're going to get a lot of your more extensive full speed break work in routes on air in 7-on-7. So a lot of times in our indie, maybe we're not focusing on that as much. So what do we guarantee that we're going to get working? Hey, definitely like first level release, second level release, and then some type of blocking. So I think like the majority of our indie is definitely like release game and then blocking. And then because we know we're going to get the route work later on in practice. Like that's how I'm structuring things. And then how can we be as efficient as possible? Like just trying to combine as much of those skills as possible is number one, right? So like instead of just working a breakpoint drill or instead of just working a first level release drill, how can we combine those? How can I get a first level release, the second level release, and a breakpoint in the same drills to maximize the time that I'm getting? And if I've got a 5-minute indie block and I've got a section and my QC has a section, well, that's 2.5 minutes where we got to get through something. So if I can get 2.5 minutes of all 3 of these skills, and then they're going over to this other drill and getting 2.5 minutes of these different skills, I think we can really maximize that indie time, as opposed to just standing there talking about something or getting work in that we're going to see something. Like I don't really, and this, I'm probably a little bit different, but I don't always see the value in drilling the same thing twice. So like if we're going to get like this crack block or this force block in team period, I'm not going to like walk through it or talk about it in indie because I know that I'm going to get that work and that exposure in those group and team periods. And so I think that's probably where I might be a little bit different in terms of how I think about it, but I'm just trying to maximize the amount of skills that we're being exposed to.
Yeah, it's definitely different from what I've heard in the past, but it makes complete sense. It definitely makes complete sense because it's hard to touch on every skill, right? So that's a way to touch on as many skills as possible. You mentioned releases. Let's get into the nuts and bolts a little bit. What are you teaching the guys as far as release goes? How are the Monmouth receivers learning level 1 releases?
Yeah. So like, and I think what's helpful honestly too is like, as you guys know, I didn't play receiver, right? So like these guys already are like way better receivers than I ever was. So it's allowing them to exist in that gray area and allowing them to do what's comfortable and give me feedback on things as well. It's not like, hey, I played in the NFL for 4 years or I played at Alabama and this is what I did when I played. It's like that was not happening with me. Being able just to like teach and learn in principles, I think is really big. So for me, it's like a press release comes down to like 3 things. It's like 1, move him off his grass, 2, have great hands, and 3, stack him or win the shoulder, right? Like if you can, and you don't need to win it all 3, right? It's like, and I'll tell the guys like, hey, all you got to do is win one time, right? Like you're winning by moving him off his grass. And if you're not doing that, all right, maybe I'm winning with my hands. And if I'm not doing that, like, all right, I'm going to win the shoulder in the stack phase. For me, that's where it begins. If I can move him off his grass, have violent hands, and stack him and win the shoulder, we're good. Oh, and then everything from there exists within that. So, all right, how do I move him off his grass? All right, now you're talking about like your stick system or your jabs. That's how I move him off his grass, right? When we're talking about openers, right? I'm sliding him lateral or sliding him vertically. That's how I'm moving him off his grass. How am I winning violent hands, right? For me, like I'm the big like man side hand guy. Like I don't want to involve the outside hand. And then how am I stacking them, right? How am I winning my inside shoulder to get that on top of him in that stack phase, as we define like 3 to 10 yards downfield. It's within that, what's comfortable for you, right? Like, I'm a big believer in just teaching them the ideas or the menu, and then from that menu, they're picking what they like best. And if we can have 3 to 4 things that we can really go to, then we can be successful.
No doubt. I always think about, one of the drills that I got from you was that stack to stacker drill.
I was going to say the same thing.
I mean,
I say the same thing.
yeah, it's one of the best. It's super competitive. I mean, obviously it's easy to just get set up and teach them, but I mean, man, is it effective? Like, I love watching the guys compete, and you get those guys that sometime like are really on that similar plane, and it's like they're fighting 15, 20 yards down the field, continuing to go. But I mean, but it's part of it, right? Like, we were talking the other day, just that constant hand fight. It doesn't just stop. Once you, let's say, knock the guy's hand down at the line of scrimmage, I mean, he's going to continue to harass you. Like, are you going to still keep fighting, or not? So that drill, Cal, has been, I mean, awesome for us. I know that.
It's one of the most undercoached things, I think.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about the line of scrimmage and not enough about combat in STEM. And it's a hard thing to get. This is why it's probably undercoached. It's a hard thing to authentically get, right? It's one thing, you're stationary, you're shedding, you're chopping, you're jogging down the field, shedding and chopping. When you make it a competition and it's as close to a live rep as possible, that is authentic in STEM combat.
And that's
right?
why
It's not these perfect shed chop. Like it's nasty, it's gritty. And then when you put the game film on, that's really what shows up. Like we did it. I don't remember what pod we were talking about it on, but we kind of did like an in STEM combat study this offseason. There are so many reps where guys are like, if you took a screenshot of them 10 yards down the field, you would almost put all your money that the DB is going to win, but you find a way in STEM late to separate.
Yep.
And like you had said, you don't have to win level 1. You don't have to win just win at the ball.
Yeah.
Now we would like to win earlier, but there is always a way to win. And and mindset wise for wideouts, like there's always a way to find a way to win. Like put yourself on top, stack the shoulder, and find the football.
Yeah, like exactly. Like to your point, like you're just constantly problem solving. It's like, all right, hey, how can I create an advantage? And like I think when you study it, and like when I study it, to your point, Mike, is like very rarely are you winning right now at the line of scrimmage. So to me, most of the time when you're winning is you're winning downfield in your STEM, or if you're looking at some type of press release vertical, most of the time those guys are winning somewhere between 6 and 10 yards. And so how are we talking to the receivers about drilling that and creating the advantage within the STEM, especially because like you're going against high level corners, right? Like It's all relative. So like you're not going to smoke this guy off the line of scrimmage, right? Like that never happens. So to me, it's like a big thing, like especially with the hands, right? It's like, and as you study it, it's like most of the time you're going to get some type of armbar or hand combat, like at the line of scrimmage, at the stick point. And then as you go vertical, you're going to get a second one. So that first armbar, it's like a lot of like neutralize, right? Like, hey, first one's neutralized, don't get beat. The second one in the stack phase armbar that's when I'm creating my advantage, So that's what, like, we're talking to the guys a lot is like, hey, press release, that first armbar neutralized. Like, just don't let him get to your chest. If he gets to your chest, you're going to have tough sledding getting vertical. If you can neutralize it, when you go vertical, he's going to give you another one on his shoulder. So now, all right, what are the techniques that we're using to create the advantage in that stack phase?
Yeah.
What are some of those techniques?
I was going to say, and how much are you drilling like the hand fighting stuff? Like, is something daily or?
Yeah, I would say it shows up pretty frequently, honestly. Because again, like it's like, all right, like that's where we're gonna win. So let's drill it a lot. For me, it's all about how fast like you can replace your hand combat with some type of what we call skinny shoulder or shoulder dip, right? So it's like, I know it's tough to hear on a podcast, but like if I'm going, like left arm swipe or rip, how fast can I reduce my shoulder to slide my inside shoulder on top of the DB's outside shoulder? So it's a lot of like drilling hand combat like that. Like, hey, wipe, dip, and then run. Or if I can't do that, if I wipe, I dip, and I still haven't created that shoulder advantage, well, now I'm talking about what we say is like tight push off, right? Like that movement where I'm pushing off, not to go
Mhm.
get the ball outside, but pushing off to go vertical
To create
and finish
separation.
the stack phase, right?
Yeah.
Or hey, if I've got some type of open chest, right? And this is something like I got from our special teams coordinator is like, can I just steel rod stiff arm, create the space that I need, replace it with space, and now I'm just running? Or hey, I've got whatever arm, can I just pull my shoulder through to slip it by? So like I do think we spend a lot of time talking about, hey, how am I getting my shoulder through? And how fast can I replace my hand combat with that shoulder advantage? I think is something that's been really helpful to our guys.
Yeah, that's great. I got punched a peck from you. I don't know if you use the same
Yeah.
terminology, but
Yeah,
like
exactly.
we've been working that a ton. We've been working pulling through a ton. Just find a way, right? Like there,
Yeah.
and it's not. And here's the other part: like it's not always the prettiest rep, right? It's just
Nope.
like find a way to do it.
Exactly.
Yep. Yep. No, it's important. I think it was Gerbina was telling us about just kind of how much in STEM combat they were working. And to your point, Mike, like it's just not something that gets repped enough. And it is hard to recreate it. And just to go back, like that's why we love that stack to stacker drill, because I mean it's kind of as live as you're gonna get within your group. You know what I mean? And both sides are working to win and get better. So I mean, everybody's getting good work. Everybody.
Yeah.
You
And I
know,
think
and then what I found to be cool too is, I like to just, hey, whatever matchups happen. So like, can the guy who is, noticeably slower, can he figure out a way to still like, whether it's maneuver that body, look to cut him off quick and like get that body in the way and win, even though he's like, I love watching those guys like problem solve that stuff. And sometimes you obviously have to kind of, prompt them a little bit, but it's just cool to kind of see the different types of, attributes that these kids have and their ways to figure out how to win those reps.
yeah, like that's how many times can you just put them in problem solving
Yeah,
situations in any drill
huge.
where they just need to figure it out. That's the big thing for me.
No doubt.
Yeah, the any stimulus, right? Like putting bodies out there just changes the whole perception of the drill. There's time like ROA is will never go away, right?
Mhm.
Drills like controlled environment drills will never go away. But the more we can get them into decision making, more authentic from the game, coach, we've spoken about it before, the better. Just one reason I love live releases is not so much the actual release part, but you're getting like if you tell guys, hey, it's live until X yard line, you're getting like truly authentic in
Sure.
STEM combat. And that's one of my favorite things. And honestly, like I think live releases, like we say one-on-ones are for like some people say one-on-ones are more for the wideout. I think live releases are more for the DB because there's no actual vertical threat, which
Right.
is great for the wideout because then we really got to find a way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it puts guys in tough spots. You
Oh,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yep.
Like you
Yep.
you want to challenge them, right? So like, all
Yep.
right, make them figure it out, make them struggle. And if
Yep.
if they fail twice, like that's okay. So we've gotten
True.
some good mileage out of that. And like two now is, I don't know about anybody else, but it seems like a lot of people now are not playing as aggressive of a press man. And so you're not going to win with your feet at the line of scrimmage because the DB just wants to motor or mirror and play on top. So now I have to win in my stem,
Yep.
and that's the big thing for us. Is like, all right, that's where we're going to spend the majority of our time talking about it and drilling it.
Yeah, we were talking
Yep.
with Dub just about, there's less two-hand jamming, going on. So to your point, right, there's less of that aggressive type of DB. I mean, you're gonna see it. It's gonna pop up sometimes, but it's not as prevalent, I guess, as it used to be. So, finding other ways to win, is super important for sure.
Definitely. Definitely.
So, obviously, again, we referenced the stack to stacker drill. I mean, you obviously, you have a ton of really great drills. Is there anything kind of going into this year, whether you've altered, a drill that you've had, or if you could talk about some of your favorite drills that you like to work with guys? Obviously, there's going to be a ton just because you're working different skills. But if you can kind of pinpoint, a couple of your favorite drills, what would it be?
Yeah, like I think going off, Mike, what you were saying is especially now, like in the off season, outside of practice, like we get a decent amount of individual time. So that's where we get probably the majority of like our individual work. And then we're going to practice. A lot of it is group based or pre-practice warm up type of stuff. To me, I've really leaned into like the whole idea of decision making or reactive type drills. Like I think you see some things like more so in other sports, like soccer or basketball or even rugby where they're talking about like small-sided games and constraint-led approach and all that type of stuff. So for me, it's not so much like, hey, let's just put some cones out there and go around the cones. Like, let's take the cone out. Let's put some type of look or defender in there and just say, hey, you've got to make a decision and you've got to get open. And the defender can kind of play it however he wants, right? So especially like when we have time and in the summertime when we're probably getting to like bigger drills because we're not necessarily as concerned with recovery is, all right, like, hey, we'll put some type of first level release reaction on it, so like, hey, we want you to release outside, defender, you play it however you want, and the receiver's got to figure it out. Hey, how am I going to release outside or do I have to counter? And then, all right, let's put a second level release reaction on it too. And then let's put, a decision point at the break. Hey, you're either going in, out, or back down your stem. And based on how the defender's playing it, you've got to get open because that's what the game is. And I think that there's a time and a place for like static drills, when you're really leaning into the fundamentals of a break point. But the game is played where you have to get open off of somebody and it's not going to be perfect. So how can we really lean into just like constantly changing the variables of the drills that we're putting guys in to stress the decision making and stress like the reaction of the stimulus of the defender, Mike, to use your phrases,
The mental processing part is huge.
Yeah.
Everything.
Like they talk about, I remember reading this book about game speed some years ago, and they were referencing just like guys like physical speed, but that doesn't always. I think they use the example of like two players going for a loose ball in basketball, and it was like, all right, this dude runs this fast, this dude is not as fast, but like the guy that's not as fast was able to pick up, say, the trajectory of the ball, the deflection, where it's bouncing, the angle of what it's going, and he was able to process that faster and react to it faster. So he got to the loose ball first. And it's like, how fast can you process the information that's in front of you to make the proper decision? And I think, to your point, right, putting those guys in more of those situations to figure that out increases those chances of making the right decision. And it's great. I mean, you want to stress those guys mentally, in those situations so that when it is game time, it's more comfortable and they're
Yes.
likely to make that decision correct.
Exactly. So it's like it's just removing some of the structure from the drill or turning different variables on and off to try to just put them in game speed situations.
It's everything. It's really everything. They've gotta get comfortable with human beings in their presence, whether it's in their stem, whether it's spotted at the top of their route, whether it's at the line of scrimmage, whether it's at the catch point. We've been doing a ton of contested catch work with bodies next, like restricting that space because now the brain's perceiving the catch differently. Like it's changed a lot for the guys we work with. And I like what you had said, how it's not going to be perfect every time. Like these breaks are not going to be perfect every time. When you put games on, there are very few perfect breaks, right? And that's okay. But we need to put guys in environments that just looks a little bit similar to what they're going to experience on Saturday or on Sunday. And it's really non-negotiable, to be honest with you. Like we as coaches have to provide that to our players because we're kind of doing them a disservice by not. We don't really we'll do a little ROA now. I understand I'm referring to more of where we're in the private sector, not when we're coaching high school. It's a little bit different. Like there's always a human in front. Like whether we're in the slot and we're running outs, like we're putting a catch defender there and letting them figure it out and letting them carry it 10 yards vertically. And whether that catch defender is great or not, it still is so much more beneficial than just doing it on air because now they're having to perceive the proximity with the DB. They're going to have to feel he's on my low hip. I need solution A. He's on my high hip. I need solution B. And that's a really hard thing to simulate outside of that environment. So I think that anytime we can replace cones with bodies or put them in authentic situations where decisions naturally have to be made is imperative. So it's awesome to hear that you're doing that with your guys.
And we don't start there, obviously, right? So it's
you
can't start there. Like I think that I just wanted to make sure that was said. It's like, we just don't
can't
start there and say, hey, get open. Like you have to have the structure and teach them the techniques and the foundations and fundamentals. And it's the same thing. It's like you're starting at the foundation, the 100, and then you're getting and evolving.
To let them, right. If it doesn't look good on air, we can't just expect it to look good live, right? So it's got to progress to that point, and then you kind of thrust them in the fire.
Yeah, so, like, the last 2 years, obviously, we had a really experienced group, so we were doing that a lot versus this offseason, it's a little bit more inexperienced, so it's like, "Alright, we're slowing it down and teaching the fundamentals first so that we can gradually build to that," I think
Yep. Yep.
But that's that's the ways, building that strong foundation of the fundamentals and techniques. And it's beyond important, and it's something that needs to show up more. One of the things I know we've been talking about with each other and then with other coaches, but obviously, the break point is huge. We love coaching it. We love seeing it, great break points and all that stuff. How important is it for you, KCal, like the entering the break? Like how much emphasis are you putting on entering the break with your guys?
Yeah, like,
Vertical
I think
stem attacking.
yeah, like, the big thing, and, Mike, we spoke about it, and, like, we at Monmouth, we kinda took it from you when you came down, is the best players run. Like, I remember you've watched more NFL film than anybody. I remember asking you, was like, "Hey, what stands out about that guy?" And you said, "The best players run." So for us, it's like everything has to be full speed
Mhm.
until it's not. And then what I think, like, I've gotten a good visual at is just, like, talking about levels, is like, I want to play really on 2 levels where I'm entering into one level, I'm dropping to a second level, and then I'm exiting at the same level. I'm not entering at one level, raising my shoulders to a
Mhm.
second, dropping
Indicator.
to a third, exiting at a fourth as I'm popping up. It's really about playing at 2 levels, like run, drop, and exit, low into the break point, low out of the break point has been good for us. And I think, like, it's a good visual to see too, like when you're
Mhm.
watching film, is like they can see where's my shoulder level, where does my stride shorten? What does the exit of the break point look like? That's been really good for us, like, just to give the guys a little bit of a visual in terms of
Yeah.
what we want our body position to look like, the entrance, the break, and then the exit.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's
you spoke about that in the clinic. I really liked how you put that. It's huge. Marry the break, right? Like if I enter at this level, I exit at this level. If we want to be like really serious about break points, the more you watch them, the less perfect they are in live situations.
no doubt.
The commonality is what you had said. Am I entering without changing levels? And then am I marrying that level in the break? There's 2 levels, right?
Yeah.
And that's how the majority of wins take place. There are some reps where there are perfect feet in the break, whatever you consider perfect feet, right? You talk to 10 people, you're gonna get 10 different responses. But the commonality is how we're entering it and our body position in it, and how we run out of it, 'cause it's a race to the reception.
Yeah, I think the big thing too has been like, your body follows your eyes. So like when you're talking about like your hard breaks, like you want your eyes last. You
Always.
think about like when you look at guys who are inefficient or don't have great power coming out, it's because they're peaking their route early,
Mhm.
and their shoulders are getting high because as their eyes come up, their shoulders and chest come up. So that's been important to see too, is like like you're gonna find the ball. Like the ball is going to be on you and you're going to find it. So don't worry
Yeah.
about looking for it. And I think but then you go to speed cuts and it's like, all right, I want my eyes first because my body's going to follow my eyes and I'm going to
Yep.
get that natural shave. But yeah, the level, like with the hard break points is really for us about the levels and then the eyes being last, I think are the 2 big things.
Yeah. No, it's definitely important. And just to your point before, like with the pad level, we always talk about like, we're not training or practicing to beat just any average DB that can't pick up on the slightest of indicators. Like we're practicing and training to beat the elite level guy that's literally picking up on, your stride length, your arm cadence, or your pad level, every single aspect. And that's why it's important for those guys to not only get coached up on it, but then, like you were saying, like let them see it, right? Let them see the difference is, all right, hey, here's where you raised up a little bit. This is where we're kind of indicating that we're doing something so then they can fix it.
Yeah.
So that stuff is huge.
Coach, are you teaching steps in the break or is it just run and drop?
Run and drop.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
that's
it's
Simple,
yeah.
plain and
Yeah.
simple, run and break.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
and I think if you're doing the right indie drills and you're repping those things right, nobody's trying to take more steps. Like nobody's like,
No.
yeah, I want to take 6 in the break today. Like guys are trying to take the least amount of steps as possible. Once we are improving body position and how they are are in the ground, the steps will naturally reduce, right? Like we don't need to be like, hey, not a good break. You got out in 5. I need you out in 3. It's paralysis by analysis more times than not. Like, let's just attack, let's drop. We're on the same page as you on that. Did you ever teach steps? Was that a philosophical change for you at some point? Or were you always run and drop?
No, I mean, it's like, probably day 1, like you're like, all right, we're getting out in 3. But then like the more you watch people, they never
Yep.
get out in
Yep.
3, right? So like,
Yeah,
all right, well
same way. Same.
that
Yeah.
doesn't really show
Grew up in
up.
there.
Most of these
Yep.
guys are taking 5 or 6 or 7.
Yep.
So it's just all about how fast you're getting in and out. That's the
Yeah.
Yep.
biggest.
Yep.
One of the things I loved, listening to in that short clip was, you were talking about the rotation in the break. And that's something that like, Mike and I talk about, like those are things that we teach. Was that something that, you always believed in? Where did that come from? Why is that so important?
Yeah, it was definitely something that like I picked up from like our current receivers when I first got here to Monmouth. Like it's not something like I came in talking about. And then it's stuff that like as you watch them, all right, this is what their bodies are naturally doing. So started like the last couple of years, like really talking about that. And I think Mike, I heard you say like the cadence was like drop, rotate, run. And I was like, boom, that's perfect. Like that's exactly what we're looking for. I forget what I was using before, like whatever, like drop, plant, drive, and like that just wasn't clicking. It's like, all right, you've got to hone in on the rotation of your body. And when I heard you say that, like that's when it clicked. And I think that like that's what you got to know about me is like I never played receiver, so I'm probably like the best and biggest thief in the country when it comes to receiver play. But it was something like through watching our current guys, it was like, okay, like this is what's happening, and like let's start to talk about it like this. Like at Mike, after I heard you say that,
Yeah, it's a clean, concise, simple, and it's really what it is.
Yeah,
Like it
right.
really is what it is. Like we could talk about all the intricacies we want. There's so much to unpack about how the feet strike the ground and all that good stuff. But if we really want to simplify this, it's run full speed. It's drop your hips, right? So the run part isn't part of that because it's understood. It's drop your hips. It's position your body or rotate it to the reception and run
And then
through
run
the
it.
reception. And that's really the simplest, purest form of a hard break.
Yeah, it's so simple, and it's like that's what I'm doing with my body. So I'm like, all right, boom, that's perfect.
Yeah. And it's important. Like it's so simple, but yet, I think again, like people could overcomplicate it and, to go back to the point of like the steps. I mean, I think everybody's been there at one point and, I remember doing it and just really harping on the steps. But then when that was happening, the guys weren't running and it's just like, we don't need to overcomplicate it, man. Run, break, like Mike was saying, put your body in the right position, run out of it, go and get the ball.
Coach, how are you coaching speed cuts? One thing I really like that you spoke about, and if I misinterpreted, please let me know, was on the deeper speed cuts, we're kind of maintaining towards the top more than like fully accelerating because it's hard to pressure step off one step efficiently. So that's something I picked up with some of the bigger body guys, like some of the tight ends we work with. When we're working like 6-step sales versus access, it was a little bit harder for them to really run through them at full speed. So maybe we're accelerating for 4 and then maintaining for the last 2. Talk to me about how you coach that, how you coach them maintaining that body language, right? Because that's a hard thing. That's a skill, is to be able to maintain rather than continue to accelerate without arm action changing, without demeanor changing.
Yeah, so like it definitely started. I remember like 2019, we were playing out at Montana and like big third down, and like we're running like your deep like dagger concepts, and our guys are like he's running full speed, like he puts his foot in the ground at like 15 yards, and like he just totally slips and eats it. Like he's running full speed for whatever 15, 18 yards. Like there's no way you can possibly speed cut that thing. At least I don't think like our guys could, right? So it's like, all right, like let's start to tempo this one so we can get out of the break with speed, balance, and power. And then 2, where I'm at in the progression, I don't need to be open until this point in time.
Right.
So we have time to work this. And so the stem is critical, right? Like, hey, if I'm getting out of this dig at 15 yards or on my 5th outside step or whatever it is, like these first 3 outside, like these first 10 yards, 8 yards of the route, like this is full speed. I'm running, I'm selling verticals. And then as I break 10, hey, can I start to almost take my foot off the gas and get it to like 85, 90%, so that as I put my foot in the ground with a speed cut, now I'm rolling out of it full speed. Different than like, your quick speed cuts, your intermediate speed cuts where I can do this and this is full speed no matter what. It definitely shows up like I think on your deeper digs and daggers of like giving the illusion that I'm running full speed. But as I approach this break, I've got full body control at 85% to get out of this thing with balance and power, as I shave it.
Yeah. And one thing I think is important to note, like if I'm at 15 yards and I have the freedom to speed cut, it's usually some type of zone. Like, so now I have the ability to potentially take my foot off the gas without worrying about somebody in my hip pocket where like I can roll through it, I can gain ground. I have more freedom to kind of take some off the gas. Whereas if somebody was in my hip pocket and I'm losing any type of speed, the rep might be over. I think the other important part is, and this is definitely a skill, how do I stop accelerating without body language changing?
Yeah.
Have you found that being a struggle for your guys? Are you drilling that? Like, what are you cueing for that?
Yeah, I think it's I'm not necessarily drilling it, but I think if you think about it almost as like like we do like a good amount of like flying sprints here, right? So like you've
Yeah.
got your build up, you've got your complete 100% acceleration, and then you've got your cool down, if you will, right? So I think it's like, can I visualize it like that? Like, hey, this is just like a flying 20. Like, hey, I'm out of it right now. I'm hitting full speed. And then I'm just starting to decel, take my foot off the gas slightly. And if we were in speed training, I would stop. Here, now I'm just finishing the break point. So I think like that's been a decent visual.
Good visual.
It's like that flying 20s mindset almost.
Yeah, like float, rather than float, sprint, float, it's sprint, float.
Yeah, exactly. And then
Yeah, I like that.
like we'll give them freedom too, like on those deeper digs, like they can 90 it too, So like I
Yep,
think like
yep.
that's an important distinction is like I don't necessarily care if it's a speed cut or it's like a hard 90. Defender can dictate that, obviously, Mike, as you
Yep.
were talking about, or it's like, all right, hey, personal preference. Like one of the best receivers we ever had here, Monmouth, like Terrence Green, like he was much better, like drop my hip in and out hard 90 than he was getting his hips all the way through on the speed cuts. Like that's something. It's like, all right, hey, personal preference. If you want to just drop your hips and get out, like that's cool.
It's great. Are you looking for them to attack that full speed?
And like get that, like,
Mm.
like, all right, hey, I can get in and out of that thing full speed.
Yep, yep.
Like a lot cleaner than that deeper speed cut.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, no, that's good. How much are you talking or coaching up the arm action, once you're in that cut?
Yeah, just not like natural, like I know it always used to be like, beat the drums and your arms got to go fast to stop your feet. To me, it's much more about like your hand position is going to dictate your body position, so like dropping my hands, like fingers to shins is the coaching phrase, like to drop my chest. I think that's what we've gotten a lot out of it.
What about in the speed cut? So like after you hit your
Yeah, I'm probably bad. Like I don't really talk much about that. Like to me, it's like, like, hey, pin drive, right? Like all that stuff. I'm much more concerned about like I think like if you get your eyes around, then your body's coming with you. So like that's where I'm spending like the time is like just constantly hitting on like, hey, eyes first, because now I'm gonna shave, and then foot position too. Like the big thing I think is there's just a tendency on the speed cut to step outside of your framework or either extend and drag or step outside of your shoulders. And now that's when you're going to have a much harder time getting your hips through. Where if like you're sticking within your frame and you're snapping your head and eyes around and you're stepping inside the midline on that drive step and gaining ground, you should be able to get out of that cut effectively. Like I'm much more talking about foot placement and eyes than I am hands and arms in the speed cut, if that makes sense.
Well, I think it should just be natural arms, right? Like we talk about rip
Yeah.
the elbow, but it's really just run your arms through. Like every 7-year-old could round first base, right? Like if you watch a 7-year-old round first base, they don't stop pumping their arms. It's very similar with the speed cut. Like it should be the natural solution to roll through it is to keep your arms pumping.
It definitely, I agree. It absolutely should. I've noticed like, guys their arms will just go dead sometimes, right? Like they hit that pressure and it's just like they go dead and it's like, you're wanting to increase that speed, gain that speed through that cuts. Why would you, like, we would never line up and race where you wouldn't pump your arms when you ran against me. Like nobody would do that. You know what I mean? So, like you said, Mike, it should be natural for sure. There should be some natural tendency to it as well, for sure. Talk to us about catching the football. Like, what are some of your coaching standards when it comes to catching the football? You know, what are some of your go-to like coaching cues for it? What are you looking for when, obviously there's different types of catches, like just kind of talk us through that.
Yeah, like for me, it's like late high and attacking is kind of the phrase. Like if you're high pointing something or it's over the shoulder, like late hands, high hands, and then attacking or aggressive
Mhm.
hands. And then it's all about extension too. Like just not allowing the ball to get to my body is absolutely critical. So like been talking a lot about extension over the last couple of years and always closing to the football, whether
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
coming off your line to go get the ball, right? Is like
Yeah.
whether that's a 90 or a
Mm.
180,
No, it's
like
huge.
whether it's a hitch and I'm changing the catch point, so I'm
Yep.
changing the angle, the
Love it.
tackle. Those are probably like the phrases of where we're living. Late high attacking, extension, and then come off my line to go get it. And always being in a ball you man relationship. Like no matter where you're at on the field, like whether you're blocking somebody, whether you're catching it over the shoulder, whether you're catching a dig ball, I always want to be a ball you man. Like that's end all be all. So how am I positioning my body and my shoulders and the extension of my hands to make sure that I'm ball you man?
I love that you're telling guys like to come off their line to catch that football. I think, that's a great way. One, obviously to cut down the flight time of the ball, like you're going to it. And then also to just be able to create, more productivity with yards after catch, right? And now you're accelerating through, it's an aggressive catch. You're running, your hips are facing the exit, all that stuff. Like I love that. I think it's something that's definitely needs to be pointed out more, and for that coaching cue of hey, come off your line to get it, I think is really good.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
you guys know, it's like it's running through the catch point. Like
It's
when the
huge.
ball when you're catching it and the ball hits your hands, like where are your feet? Like so many times there's just a natural tendency for your feet to leave the ground. And to me, it's just comfort, of getting those full speed catches and running through the catch. Like
Th-
that's what leads
It's
to the
huge.
yak,
I mean,
is your
Yeah.
feet are on the ground and you're full speed.
that is
That's where
huge.
most of the yak is, right?
Yeah,
Like when you watch gash plays, like, yeah, there's guys really juking people out, but am I running through the reception?
no doubt.
Because guys are not always accounting for that. Like guys that are
Yeah.
driving top down, a lot of times their angle is kind of baking in that there's going to be a decel at the catch point, right? So now that
Because most
angle's
people do it.
destroyed. That
Yeah.
angle's now destroyed. And
Mhm.
now you're at full speed. Like I'm running full speed catching the ball. You're running at the ball. I should win the race to the end zone every single
Every
time,
time,
right? And
especially with
then the
hip
other
angles,
thing,
certain hip
yeah,
angles.
it's a no-brainer. It's definitely a skill that has to be worked. And the other thing you mentioned, yes, it's a race to the ball when I finish the break, but when the ball is thrown, like it is a race to the reception.
Yeah.
No matter what the route is, no matter where you are, no matter where he is, the game could really be simplified as find a way to end the play with the football. We are in attack mode the minute the ball is thrown.
Mhm.
Are there certain circumstances where that might not be the truth? Sure, but I would argue the large majority of the time the ball is thrown, run through the ball. Period. End of story.
And, I know in high school, like it shows up, on film out here. And I tell my guys, like, just watch the play for a second when that ball is thrown. Like for a split second, somewhere, someone on that defense like peeks at the ball flying in the air for just a split second. And I feel like that split second is enough for us to take advantage. Cause as you're watching that ball for that split second, we're going to attack it, we're accelerating through, and we should win or have a big play because of that. So no, it's huge. And, we talk about the full speed catches a lot. Like for us, that's maybe the number one way, along with the contested catches that Mike was talking before, about building that confidence in those guys to catch the football consistently with proper mechanics, so
Yeah, definitely.
love it. Love it. I know what I was going to ask before. Going into this new season coming up, like what is an area, whether it's personally or within your group, that you've been wanting to improve the most?
Yeah, oh, that's a good question. I think I thought coming out of out of 2024 season, like going into this past year, I thought we needed to catch the ball better, right? Like I thought we needed to make the tougher catch, the contested catch, the catch in traffic. So we spent a lot of time just being better around the ball. And I thought that we did that when you look at the 2025 season. I think for us losing a really big piece of our production from the 2025 season, it's really just about getting guys ready to play. You know, whether that's guys who now have an opportunity, whether they're new guys, whether they're guys in different spots. For me, it's about getting guys to play at the level that we need them to this year. And I know that when we go out to day one of spring practice, like it's going to be the Super Bowl, you know, but I think it's about being patient in that growth and improvement process where, hey, this is not going to happen right away for any of us. And it's not going to happen, you know, we're not going to be where we need to be probably coming out of spring ball, but that's okay because, you know, we don't play until week 1 in August or September. So I think it's about the guys being very process oriented as opposed to outcome oriented and knowing that this process of development, improvement, and growth is going to take time and that's okay. And there's going to be mistakes and that's okay because that's an opportunity for us to improve it. Like as long as we're doing things how we want to do them, we will be okay at the end of the day. And I've got confidence in our guys that they will be, but to me it's about like just having patience with this process throughout the next month and not being totally outcome oriented in practice 4 of spring.
I can really appreciate, you said it a few times, but just about, it's okay to make those mistakes. I think that's super important. One of the things I feel like a lot of guys struggle with here nowadays is just failure and just like not, I guess, excelling at every single rep or everything that they do. And their recovery from that. So for them to understand that, hey, it's okay to make now, don't get me wrong, we have to fix it, but along the way, especially early on, we're going to make those mistakes. That's okay. Continue to drive forward, continue to plug it away. Like the resiliency factor has to be in there. And it sucks sometimes where you see guys get so defeated off of, hey, you lost a one-on-one rep, or maybe you didn't do the drill correctly. Like that's just part of the process.
Yeah.
Can you love the process enough to love every aspect of it? And are you dedicated to that process enough to continue working to fix it and better yourself? But just don't fall, victim to, oh, I didn't do well, in this rep. So like pack it in and find something else to do. Like, no, keep plugging away.
Yeah, like there's a reason they call it practice, right?
Right.
And like I can't tell you like the amount of times that like, myself or Jimmy Robertson or Coach Gallo, like we wanted to try out this concept or play in practice and it looks awful. So we're like, all right, well, that's out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that's okay. Like that's what
It's okay.
practice is for, right? Where I think we've probably all been at places where practice needs to be perfect. And if this guy dropped it or this play didn't look good or this look wasn't good, then it was like, the world is ending. We're like, no, it's okay. Like, all right, that's why we're doing it, right? It's like you want to experiment and you want to work at things and you want to see what looks good and what doesn't look good so that when you go to the game, all right, now you have a really good plan. And like if we're going to experiment with different things, like we want our players to be able to do that too.
No doubt. No doubt. And I mean,
It's the time to do
that is the time to do it. Shoot, I think at every position, right? But maybe more so at the wideout position, like having that short-term memory. Because not everything's gonna go your way. Like that first play of the game, that ball may get thrown to you, it hits your hands, it hits the floor. You may run another 65 plays. Like you can't go in the tank for the next 64. Like you just can't do it. So
Well,
how quick can you bounce back? And to your point, right? Like let that start to build in practice. Like they have to learn those important values in practice. And having someone like yourself, coach, like to let those guys know, to reassure them that, hey, it is okay to make those mistakes. We're gonna fix it. It's okay to make those mistakes. Like I think just helps them build that resiliency that they're gonna need in those games.
Because like how many times as a coach, like I've done it a million times, like, all right, we do a drill. You think it's a great drill? Like, all right, well, that drill sucks. Like that's out. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. Like
we can't pack it in. We're not gonna pack in us as coaches. Like be like, all right, well, that's it. Like we're done. We're just we'll find a new profession.
Yeah. So I think it's like, all right, it's the same thing as a player. It's like, all right, well, that release didn't work or that idea didn't work. It's all the same thing. You just got to be comfortable with it and be okay with it. Because at the end of the day, when you go to the game, you'll be fine and you'll be ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there some guys like, obviously you've referenced it and I think a ton of guys, see Mike's stuff and can get a ton of really great coaching points from him and things like that. Are there other guys that, you look to learn from or have learned from over the years that have really kind of helped you, get to this point and helped you structure some of the stuff that you do now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think like when I was at Amherst, I was the kind of offensive GA, and Mitchell Thompson, who's worked in the NESCAC for a while, he was at Dartmouth, he was at Bates, he's been at Amherst for a while. Like we're the same age. So he was coaching receivers, I was coaching receivers. Like that's someone I think is really knowledgeable and someone that we've talked a lot, just going back and forth, has been really good. Brian Flynn, who's at Princeton now, like
Mhm.
he is like the dean of East Coast wide receivers coaches. And he's someone who was like always really good to me. Like when I was younger, like he was just always helpful, sharing, like talking, like super knowledgeable, like taking a ton from him and just how he's operated. Like he's someone that was been really good. When I first came to Monmouth, TJ DeMuzio was the receivers coach. When I became the receivers coach, he slid over to quarterbacks. Now he's the quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator at Lafayette. Took a ton from him just in terms of like highlighting guys' strengths, allowing them to exist in that gray area, and that idea of like, hey, it's okay to make mistakes because we'll get better from it, and let's try stuff out. And if it doesn't work, like then we're out of it. And then the offensive staff when I was at Columbia was really good. I mentioned Mark Fabish, John McLaughlin was the O-line coach. Joe DeRazio was the tight ends coach. Like he's now the GM at Utah, like super sharp, just with a lot of that mentality stuff. Todd Gilchrist was the receivers coach. Like he's now at Dartmouth, really technical in the details. And then Rick Santos was the quarterbacks coach, who's now the head coach at Penn. And just like you talk about energy and leader and X's and O's, like, I've learned a ton from all those guys. And those guys, like, they were always really good to me. You know what I mean? Like I never worked with anybody who was making my life really miserable, And like, that's something that I've worked with really good people and really smart people. And those are the guys, like, I felt like I learned a ton from them when I was working with them.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then like when I was at Lafayette, like Tyquan Underwood was the receivers coach, right? So like the complete opposite of me, like he had a ton of success in college and the NFL and still coaching in the NFL. So I took a lot from him too,
Yeah.
But nah, this was dope, man. Like we always look to, we always want to get some of the best coaches up here, the best guys to talk wideout play. Obviously, we've known each other, all of us for some years, and we've picked each other's brains. And so it's really great to get you to come up here and just chop it up with us. Shared a lot of great stuff. I know it's another episode that dudes are going to get a lot from. And we really appreciate, you taking the time out to do that.
Yeah, you were one of the first guys we thought of. Like we were starting the pod, it was like, all right, we got to get Coach Callahan.
I appreciate that. I mean, you guys are awesome, right? Like, Justin, I don't know if you get enough credit for getting coaches through COVID, like for those who don't know, just like your daily Zoom sessions and clinics, like you kind of got that whole piece going, I think, I don't know if you get the credit you deserve for that, just in terms of moving that
Appreciate
forward.
that.
And then obviously like Mike, Mike and Justin, you guys are as good as there is receiver coach wise. And like I said, I just steal from everybody. So I just appreciate you guys and having me on and thinking of me.
No, absolutely, brother. Well, we'll definitely be in touch soon, man. I think it'd be great, if all three of us get on the line again and just, chop it up, maybe watch some film and really just talk some more wideout play, man.
Yeah, sounds good. Whatever you guys need or, whatever anyone needs, I'm always around. I'm always available and willing to share. So hit me up.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
You, brother.
Thank you guys.
See you, Coach.
Later.